Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 17, Tool Landscape, with myself, Anthony Mitchell, Florian and Vierke, and our special guest today, I hope you pronounce your name right, Sebastiaan de Vos. Is that correct, Sebastiaan?
Well, you say De Vos. It's just Dutch.
Okay, De Vos. Okay, there we go. It's important. It's important.
Anthony has problems with last names, usually.
You would say it's almost French, right? But it's not. It's Dutch.
It's Dutch. Perfect.
Great.
Thanks for that. Thanks for the introduction. And just to give you a little insider to the lesson, in fact, the episode, what we'll be discussing today is the landscape of deliverability, the tools that we use, how they've been built, and how they can help us. So, without much further ado, let's make a start. So first, I would like to just welcome you, Sebastiaan, to the channel. I know that you're big in the industry. You're a friend of the channel, so it's great to have you on. If you could introduce yourself, that would be great for our fans.
Yeah, that's fun. Let's do it. So I'm Sebastiaan. I've been working for a big ESP in Austria and Vienna as a head of deliverability. I don't do that anymore since a year, but what I've got left from this is a very nice and handy tool, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm now the founder and CTO of MailMike.
Cool. MailMike.
MailMike, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know that tool, and it's really a good one, and I think you will present us a few screenshots of that, or share screen even better. Let's step one step back before we start, because first of all, I would like to ask the question: why do we need tools, and what kind of tools do we need? So, what does a deliverability manager or an ESP, email service provider, or generally a client, what kind of tools does he need that he doesn't have without thinking about deliverability? What would you say?
Well, I think there's a lot to say about tools. Yeah, you want to have insight in your campaigns. So you need results. You need open rates. You need click rates. You need bounces. You need mail logs. That's a lot of stuff that you need, and that there's a lot of tools built around that. But there is one very special aspect, one very special kind of tool, and that is the seed list tool. And I think people needed the seed list tool because if you send a message out, you can see if it's blocked or not by your logs, and you can see who clicked or opened by your open and click rates in your tracking pixel. But what you cannot see if your message went to the spam folder or to the inbox. Okay. That's one reason why people started to need tools for this.
Okay, great. I think you've mentioned a lot of words already that maybe not everybody knows. So let's start from the beginning to collect all of the guys. First of all, what deliverability does is manage messages to go into the inbox. So in the end, what we would like to measure is if messages actually arrive there, if they go to the inbox. In fact, we can't, because that stays at each recipient, at each ISP, but we can find some workarounds, and you mentioned two of them. First one is to check open rates. If they look suspicious, if they go very down, then we can assume that not all the messages are arriving in the inbox. And the second one is we can just test it. So we send a few test emails and see where they are landing. And that's what you mentioned is the seed list, right? So that's the terms we are talking about.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the part for measuring if your messages went to the inbox. I mean, I can show you a seed list over here. That is my seed list. And if I send a message to that seed list, then every one of these addresses is going to get the message either to the inbox or the spam folder or another tab. And when I'm picking up all these messages, you can get this information and you can show it. But I think that is one thing of measuring if you maybe have a problem, but it is also interesting to see why things happen.
Okay, so you have that seed list means you have test accounts for the most relevant ISPs for specific regions. To give us some insight, how many seeds are we talking about? How many seeds do you use per ISP?
This is a very interesting topic too. I use 1 seed per ISP, and I have a very clear reason to do that. But then again, I think maybe then again we have to take a little step back, because if you send a message to an ISP, for example Gmail or Hotmail, they usually look what happens to the message. If you open it, how fast you open it, if you delete it. They call this user engagement metrics. And if you constantly send a message to an ISP and you don't open it, then the ISP is noticing this, and this may have a bad effect on your reputation. So you get to the spam folder because of that. And that's the reason. I think if I have a lot of seeds, then I'm just sending to a lot of mailboxes, and I'm not opening these messages, because as soon as I'm opening them, I'm changing the mailbox. And the next time they will not go to the spam anymore. So I prefer to do 1. I think it may damage your reputation if you send to too many seeds.
Perhaps it won't be a true representation if, for example, you had 10 seeds and 8 of them are in spam folder, 2 of them are inbox. So okay, I get the point there. So how many for each region? In fact, you have different ISPs for each region. Is that correct? How's that broken down? How do you deal with that?
So in that case, I'm again trying to explain that I'm trying to send only a few seeds, and this is only one aspect of testing. So what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying not to send to too many seeds. Because if I have an indication if messages go to the inbox or the spam folder, that is enough. If I send too many to these seeds, it may happen that my reputation goes down because nobody is opening these messages. So I don't want to send to too many seeds. That's why you see here just a few regions and just a few seeds.
Okay.
If you go and look at the result of these seeds, you are likely to see enough information to tell if your message goes to the spam folder overall or not, and if you have a problem or not.
Okay. I think that's quite good information regarding seed list, and it's also not the only information that you pull from there is whether the message arrived into the spam folder or not. You also have the feedback from the recipient whether technical setup is okay. For example, if DKIM, SPF, DMARC is set up correctly, whether sending domain is aligned, and a few more options, right?
Exactly, that's it. That's what I wanted to say before also. You can look if your messages go to the inbox or the spam folder. You can see it over here again, and you get a good indication from this screen. I mean, to me it is clear, and 1 seed per ISP is enough for me to see this. But what is much more interesting, if I look at this message going to the spam, this message going to the spam, this message going to the spam, is the reason why this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I have a problem, it is nice to know that I have a problem, but I don't solve the problem by knowing that I have it.
Exactly.
And to know that you have it is very easy. You can know it with 1 seed. So that's why you can look at some other aspects. For example, here you have some content results, and this message contains, for example, some phishing links. Now that could be a reason why this message goes to the spam folder.
Mm-hmm.
For example.
I see.
And if you then look at tools, this is content. It could be authentication. There could be a blacklisting. there can be many things, but in the end, you also still need your open rates and your click rates right next to this, because when your open rates are low, that could also be another reason.
Okay.
So you can drill down quicker.
Again?
I'm just saying you can drill down quicker. So first you're identifying the issue, and then you can check actually what was the main reason, authentication, content, and it's quite a quick visual that you can look into. Because a lot of the time we don't have much time to identify and troubleshoot these issues. So I think this could be quite helpful. Sorry, Florian, you were just about to ask a question.
Really? No. I just want to mention. So this tool that you're showing is obviously MailMike, because you have created that, and I like it, or we like it because obviously we are also watching the problem or the task from the same perspective, deliverability. It's quite technical, and there's a lot of other tools, not to forget about them, that are showing some aspects as well. Some work in a similar way, but might have a bit different target audience, more like marketers and so on. So to mention just a few, we have the return path suite, and we also have 250OK that are doing, not, I don't want to say the same, but they are acting in the same range. They have this similar goals with their tools. Yeah, but that's a deliverability view, and I wanted to mention there's also some other tools and some other aspects that we can monitor. For example, one interesting thing is the Abusix network, which is evaluating spam traps. So what they do is they have a massive spam trap network, and if you're a domain owner and do not use your domain, you can point your MX record to them, just to have a broader source of data. And what they do is, if you go for their service, they just report you back what kind of spam or unsolicited mail they receive out of your network. Don't know, Sebastian, if this data source is also included in your tool, is it?
This is not yet included to my tool. I have been talking to the guys from Abusix, so this is definitely something that could be an option for the future. Basically, it is not a big deal to implement data into the tool. So if anybody would need to see certain data, it is quickly done to put it inside. So far, we have not seen the need for this data directly.
Okay. So it's to mention that it's like a suite of tools that are integrated. For example, you can find on the internet a lot of blacklist checkers to enter your domain or IP and see where they are listed. That's also in there. You can go to different tools to check if your DNS setup is done correctly or whatever. That's also included in here, also in 250OK and some other tools. So so it's, would you say it's something like a meta tool to include all that and put it to one place what you need? Or how would you say that?
I would say that is definitely something, although I see with all the different tools that they do slightly different checks in slightly different ways. And I think we've forgotten a big range, because you also have the email on asset and Litmus-like tools where you rather look at how does my message look in a certain client. Mm-hmm. You're correct. MailMike can best be compared to 250OK, I would say, in its functionality and what it shows. And it can also be compared to return path, although return path is more a whitelist, as we know. Some big differences that you will see is, for example, with return path, you can have a good overview of the quality of your messages, and you get also some indications which are good for a marketer to look at. But if it comes down to really looking in depth, looking at mail headers, looking at technical aspects, you may miss a little overview in the return path suite.
Yeah.
The 250 OK tools, they are, I would say, very beautiful tools. They also come for a very beautiful full price. I think that is the main difference with MailMike. And what both tools do is they send to a large seed list. And MailMike does not do this. MailMike is sending to a small seed list and putting more focus on the content checks and the technical setup in the backend.
Okay, cool. I mean, we want to stay neutral. Of course, you can't. You're the founder. Yeah, we would like to present the landscape and what's out there and what's good and what's what's good. We only present good things.
I think
yeah,
for sure, and I think I speak for myself and the viewers, perhaps Sebastian. I'm quite interested in your story and how, in fact, you got to this point of developing the tools. We know that you worked in email marketing beforehand as a deliverability manager. If you could perhaps give the viewers, those that are quite new into this, some advice in terms of, okay, what would you say is the quick win for any email marketing campaigner? What would you say is the best thing they could look at to perhaps improve their deliverability? Just if you could perhaps name one or two things. I know that already you've said the seed lists, but that could be quite interesting for them.
So things to look at to improve your deliverability. I always find this very difficult because I found out that it's so much a combination of factors. Especially you look at a landscape of so many ISPs that all do things a little bit different, and then there are so many factors that influence your deliverability that I find it very difficult to name one or two things. Maybe that's the reason why I had to create this tool. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. And I would also like to add that we have we should not forget we have a lot of involved companies and parties, and each one has a different set of data. So, for example, when you're sending email from your ESP, then you have collected all the click data, like opens, clicks, tracking, and so on. That's done on ESP end, so only they have the data, while the ISP, so the recipient, doesn't have this data. The ISP has the full insight about who's arriving in the inbox, for example. So that's a different data view. Then the MTA, the sending machine, also has a different data. They have the log files, which you can visualize in tools like Kibana in a really nice way to show or to have a quick overview where problems might come up. So, and that's the orchestration of data that is our main challenge, to see where the different data come from, to aggregate them, and to see then where are problems, what might come next as a problem, what do we need to improve, what can we improve, what can't we improve, and also to think about what are the causes for issues. And that's not always the easiest thing, because sometimes, you can. I talk too long alone.
Yeah, well, that's why I mentioned in the beginning that we need different tools. Like we also need the open rates and the click rates, and we need the MTA data. This is all stuff. Maybe someday MailMike will have an importer so you can see it all, or an API interface. But all the data comes in different formats, so it's very difficult to read. When I was working at Emarsis,
you mentioned it.
Okay.
No, that's okay.
Shall I repeat that line?
No, that's okay.
When I was working for this large ESP in Austria that nobody knows the name of, I had to do the DNS lookups, one by one in the beginning. I was just a support guy there, and that's where I started creating bash scripts that take over my domain checks, and then I wanted to see if the authentication really works. So I created a little server, and I put up a little MTA that is picking up one email and just checking the mail header for the authentication. And then I built all these content checks, and at a certain point I wanted to look at my network. I wanted to see the results of my IPs. And me see. There is an IP that I can show. Usually there's a whole list of IPs here, and you can see blacklists and whitelists. And so in the end, I was only using this tool to download my daily SORBS listings. So that's a little bit how it's been grown. And then you can see there the single little tools on the sides. It's been just like, I need to see something. Let's build a tool. Let's not just use somebody else's tool, but let's build
What's
my
next
own tool.
for MailMike, for deliverability? What's your prediction?
So, that's the predictions are always hard, huh?
That's why we ask experts like you.
We had a go at the future of email, but we could only brainstorm some ideas.
Yeah, well, that's like it's gonna be a long episode then. If we're gonna start that way.
No, just a quick prediction.
It's philosophical. I think that things will change a bit less in deliverability than they have been doing the last years. If you look back 10 years, the world was completely different than it is from today. And I think if you will look in 10 years at deliverability, there will not have changed so much as it did in the last 10 years.
Okay. So email is not dying. That's
no,
good news for us.
Email is definitely not dying. No.
Okay.
There's music to my ears.
And to MailMike, I would say we just get a lot of more tools and lots of more features in the next year. We're building on this very hard.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think, Anthony, do you have some more questions? I know we are still on the surface of this topic, and we could make our own series of 10 episodes out of that, and we might will. So maybe not 10. Let's see. But I think for the first overview, at least I don't have any more open points. What about you?
No, I think for on my side it's good for the first episode. Sebastian, it would be great to have you back on and to go into more detail about these specific tools. I think that would be really interesting for the viewers and myself. So yeah, thank you, thanks for your time today. Sebastian, did you have any questions for us perhaps, or is there anything that you wanted to last comments from your side?
No, it's I have just one comment. I just had a thought. Maybe it's good if your viewers, if they have any questions to the topics, if they just share them with you, and then if I come back, we can deal with those questions.
I always wanted to make that.
Good.
Please comment down below the video. No, please. That's a good point. Please send us your comments, your questions, whatever. We will discuss with Sebastian, and can do that, and give feedback on the next episode or whatever.
Sounds great. And keeping with tradition, Sebastian, next time I see you, I'll buy you a beer. Thank you.
Thank you. It was fun to be here.
Cool.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks
Thanks for
you.
watching.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.